The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time in late July. I can't believe we are already at July 20th, and the summer is hot, the guests are hotter. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to some beautiful guests behind me, these awesome ducks that are hamming it up, from my great tech guy, Joe Borman, who took the pictures of them for my awesome backdrop. But I also have a human guest today. We're going to talk to her. Where did she go? There she is. But before we get to her, I got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So, we got Lynch's Towing Auto Cycle and Truck Center in Brockton. One number for towing, one number for projects. Always in search of new scrap metal, wheels, anything my pal Lynchy in Brockton can handle. He does it all. We got John's Greenhouses and Florist Shop in Brockton. We got the Barber Shop in Whitman on Route 27, going south from the center of Whitman. Debbie does a great job there. We got Auto Town Auto Glass and Auto Body in Abington. We got Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We got Uplifted Nutrition in Taunton. We got 111 Tattoo Collective in Brockton. We got One Good Credit in Brockton, One Good Credit in Brockton. We got A1's Tire and Auto Center in Brockton. Always in search of new service writers and techs, and even if you don't know how to do it, send someone by that does. We got Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We got Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We got Easton Fitness in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. We got the Gunrunner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now I will officially introduce, how do you say your name, Tatiana?
Taji Arki.
Taji Arki. I'm sorry. I'm so used to Tatiana, but
everybody calls me Tarji for short.
Taji. Okay, almost like the female of Tarzan.
Yeah, almost like Taraji.
Taraji, I got it. And you do a lot of things. You're a marketer. You're a musician. I don't know about a musician, but you're an artist. Well, tell me. Let's go over what you do little by little. You tell me what you do. You have a lot of things that you do, and one of them included doing a really awesome picturesque plug for your appearance on my show today. So why don't we go on? Why don't we go in order? You talk about yourself, and if I have any questions, I'll roll them in, and then we'll make sure we'll bring it to the top, as we always do on Topic Time. So go ahead.
Okay, Allison. Well, my name is Ms. TML. That's what I go by.
Okay.
I've been doing music entertainment since I was a child.
Okay.
I grew up in the Boston area, and I moved to Worcester in my early 20s. And I've been just, a force in regards to entertainment and music, and just trying to create a circuit for New England. So I'm all about the culture here. I'm all about, just networking and getting artist exposure and, doing those type of things. And I've been successful at it. There's been people that have reached out to me to work with me, that are labels. A lot of label representatives reach out to me to, get my opinion on different artists, on different sounds. And, I've just been able to do it independently in the last 5 years. Previous to that, I was working with UpNorth Records, and they had a distribution deal through Universal. We were the first major label in New England to have major backing. So that is one of my accolades in regards to why people respect what I do and, just who I am and what I bring to the table. So, those are the things that have helped to mold me in a lot of ways. And I've just been happy with, just seeing what I've done over the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years. I've been a podcast host. I started my own podcast, which was Real Talk with TML during the COVID pandemic time. And that was just basically to give artists that in my network exposure, and just keep them, kind of active because it was hard for them to get out, do shows. Everybody was locked down. So, we found new ways to give artists that platform and, just get them into, different networks and things like that. I then took it a little bit further and started doing radio. And I did blog talk radio for about one season. I then switched it over to doing it virtual, where we started doing Up North City Girls with me and four other women from the New England area. And the reason why I picked those women is because we had a history. We had a great chemistry. We grew up together. But I wanted to give New England women a platform in regards to their voices and their opinions on different trending topics and, things that are going on. I think that sometimes, those things we don't necessarily see coming from New England. So I wanted to give, the women of New England that platform to voice their opinion, but also do great interviews with great talented artists from all over the world. And we just ended our third season, and we're actually looking at going into Fire TV, Roku TV for our next season. So, it's always been, a journey, but it's always elevating and it's always growing. And I just love it. I love what I do. I love, exposing new talent and things like that, and just bringing different entrepreneurs. I've had authors, I've had, people who own their own businesses and, just teaching people about crypto. We teach people, in regards to different education about different topics. So that's important to me too, is to keep, the education factor in it as well.
Okay. Now, are you a musician too?
Yeah, I did actually do music for a while. I stopped doing music in my early 30s just because I felt like I wanted to give back. I wanted to, that's when I started working with the record label, and I started, taking what I had learned and trying to give it to people earlier than, what I had to deal with. So that was my, my goal. Everyone always asks me, when are you going to do another song? Or when are you going to, do, your own thing? And I'm like, listen, like that time for me is not right now.
Okay.
And I think I just, I love what I do right now as a podcast host, as a conversationalist, and someone who's, influencing minds. I think that's the great thing about, what we do as hosts and things like that, is we have the ability to influence the masses. And that was my, that's overall what I've always wanted to do in life. So I'm doing it.
Now you're doing it. Me too. I played the piano for 7 years as a kid myself, so I know, and I was considered very talented, and I could. But you have to do what feels right, and sometimes you have to weed your way through the muck to get to the mire, I guess you could say. Whatever that means, the gold. All right. So now you also do artwork. I've noticed some. Tell me about that. How did that come to be?
So, I mean, I've always been creative.
Yes.
I'm definitely a creative child. Like you say, you have your different children in your family. I was definitely the musician, the actor, the artist. I wanted to draw. I wanted to paint. I wanted to do anything that was going to express, my creative ability. So in regards to graphics, how I really got, started getting into it is I wanted to learn how to do my own flyers. I got tired of waiting for graphic designers. I got tired of waiting for people to, understand what vision I had when I wanted them to create something when it came to a cover for artists and, a flyer for an event. So I said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do this myself. And I did. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to do any and everything when it comes to doing graphic and logos and designs and just being able to market, whatever it is that you're selling. And that's always been something, that I do. I've always been a hustler. In regards to just from the time I want to say 8 years old, I was on the corner of Blue Hill Ave and Blue Hill Ave and Columbia Road, and I used to sell newspapers.
Wow.
I was one of those kids out there, and I would go meet the guy, and he would give us newspapers, and I was out there selling newspapers just to make my own money at 8 years old.
8 years old. Wow.
Yeah, I've
Good for you.
always, found a way. Like, listen, we can make some money some way, somehow. And I've always been good at it. I've sold cars, I've sold houses, I've sold businesses. I've done just about every type of trade that you could think of right now.
You told me you mentioned acting. Tell me about some of the acting experiences you've had, roles and whatnot.
Well, I started off acting in high school.
Okay.
That's where I really started.
Where,
I started
where,
with
where, where did you go to high school?
I went to Fenway Middle College High School, it was a pilot program in the city of Boston,
Okay.
where basically we went to college and high school at the
Yeah,
same time.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah, so it taught a lot of critical thinking. It actually advanced me a lot, in regards to how to work and live before my time. And I just knew like arts and, theater and things like that I was good at. I still am very close with my theater teacher. He's been a big mentor, a big influence in my life. I actually managed his jazz band for a while,
Okay.
and did a lot of, things with them. So and they were a 4-time Grammy nominated group.
Oh yeah, who were they?
So shout out the Groovalados. They're actually out of Cape Cod.
Sweet.
Yeah, so definitely I want to get them on the show. Great group of guys.
Nice show. Love it.
Yeah, they're so dope, and it's like they're playing all over the place right now. And that was one of my accolades that I could contribute to, the marketing and just the plan that I had behind, marketing and promoting them, and getting them booked in different areas, because it's important to, get artists out there and get them exposure. I don't think artists realize that, you got to stay consistent. You got to keep working. The more that people see that you're a relevant factor, that people are booking you or that you're doing shows, people are going to pay attention. And I think artists now, it's so easy for artists to just think, oh, I could just get exposure over the internet. But what about your foot traffic? What about you out there actually in the community, being seen and being heard? That's what's important, is keeping that memorable, personal effect that not every artist has now. You see a lot of these artists, they can't even perform, in real life. They're not good performers. They might be great artists, but they're not good performers.
Okay, hold
And
up a
that,
second. I got a question. If they're great,
yeah,
how are they? I mean, how are they? You lost me a little bit. Explain what that means. Not good performers, great artists. How is that possible?
yeah. I mean, because you could be a great singer, a
Yeah.
great rapper, but when it comes time to hit the stage, you know nothing about owning the stage.
Well,
You
okay.
know
So basically,
nothing.
they freeze up on stage, is what you're saying.
Right,
Oh, okay. But
right.
if they did like
They
Steely
have
Dan,
no
remember the
stage
band?
presence.
Remember Steely Dan? They used to be they were a band a bunch of years ago that were afraid to go on tour because they didn't like how the music sounded live, but they were always killing it in the recording studio.
Right.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, well
And
these are
that's
the
hard.
yeah. Yeah, put your head down a little bit, just because the top of your head's getting cut off. Or pull you. There you go. Okay.
Right.
Have you ever represented any actors as well as musicians? And if
Yes,
not, would you
actually
consider
I
it?
did.
Okay, talk about that, would you?
His name is Don Hazel, Sonny
Oh,
Thomas. He's a well-known musician, actor. He did original Gangster in Boston. It was a
okay.
film that was based in Boston. And he actually passed away a little over a year ago.
Oh,
He was in his late 50s. He, just definitely a great talent, a great notoriety in the city of Boston. And he, found me and he was like, listen, I want you to be my manager. I want you to, work with me and, just be a part of this. And he always inspired me because he was in his 60s, I believe, and he just never gave up.
yeah.
He still was consistent with doing music, with doing acting, or, and, working with him, it definitely showed me that there's longevity in entertainment.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Now, how do you reach out to people to represent them, or do they reach out to you, or both? How does that work?
Usually they reach out to me now. I've
Okay, yeah,
branded
that's,
myself enough
yep.
um, all over the world in regards to, what I've done. And, I have a website, I have, all different social media, pages and platforms that I work out of. So, I mean, in regards to my network, it's there.
Yeah.
I at this point am building a website so that everything that I do and all the services that I've offer and can offer people, they're in a one-stop shop. And that's currently what we're working towards, gearing towards for the end of this year is the launch of that. It's called the Media Loop, which is my initials. And the Media Loop is basically a place where you can go, you can find all different type of resources from podcasts to, different, services like media services, YouTube services. These are all the things that I've been able to build a resume and build relationships with different people in the industry that do these different things. And I said, you know what? Why don't we put all these things together and we work under a hub? Um, and it's been 5 years in the making. So it's like now it's like with the podcast and having the visuals, and we have the visuals, we have the PR services, we have the blogging, the websites. We can do everything for you. It's a one-stop shop for artists and for models, as well as people who just have business that they need in regards to, they might need girls for different things, or they might need a rapper or a musician for different things. And these are the things that the Media Loop is going to be able to offer.
Okay. You mentioned models too. How many models do you represent about? And
Right
by the way,
now, I
I'd
represent.
love to get all your models on my show at some point. If you,
Yes, they're coming. I'm so bummed that we didn't get that figured out for this one, but next one we're definitely bringing them, and they're definitely excited to come. Right now, I'm currently managing six models.
six, huh?
So yeah, and we
Wow.
just got booked for a video for this the 31st. I believe it's a Sunday, out in Connecticut. So
Okay.
that should be interesting. We'll definitely have some new visuals and just different things going on. And we have also August the 4th, another show
Actually, I
in.
think the 31st is a Monday.
So it might be the 30th.
Oh, there you go. That's good for my memory. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So it's the 30th. So yeah, the 30th in Connecticut. I'll have more information going up about that on my pages and things like that. But we also are doing artists who I'm going to be interviewing next month. I'm actually supposed to be on vacation this month from any social media activity. Just because, like we talked about, we need downtime in regards to social media and, just kind of being collective in regards to our thoughts and, things like that. So I try to take breaks and just gather different things that I want to do or bring to the next season of the podcast and things like that. So these next 2 weeks I'm going to be taking a break, but coming August we have, I want to say, 7 different artists that I'm going to be interviewing all over the country as well
Wow.
as in New England. So we have one artist who, she goes by the name GGK. She's actually out of, I believe, I want to say like Salem or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And she basically is having a party for her birthday in Providence. So we're probably going to be hosting that on August 4th. So that should be good because the DJ just hit me up and, so it's like, again, we've kind of created a notoriety with Exotic Baddies. That's the name of my models. And the girls are either dancers or, girls who want to be bottle girls or, video girls. They model, they do it all.
Right.
So it's good. It's definitely a great, entertainment source. Cause again, the girls keep you active, they keep you going, and they basically are the highlight of the party.
Yep.
So I try to create that vibe for, anything that we're booked for.
Who was that artist you were talking about last night when we were talking on the phone who did that? Remember that song? Remember last night we were talking on the phone from like 1994?
Oh, we were talking about Jesse
Okay.
Cole. Jesse Cole is actually
That
an
song's
artist.
been in my head since we talked about it last night.
Rhythm is a dancer.
That's the one. Yeah, I know.
Yes, he actually is an artist that I got to be introduced to through another group called Really Bad People, and they're out of Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
And I interviewed them last season. 4 guys, great artists. When I tell you, Harrison, they are so talented. And they had a tragedy during the day before our first interview. They had a tragedy. One of the artists was killed in a drunk driver killed him
Oh,
coming home from a show.
that's awful.
So
Yeah.
it was heartfelt because and then they got, they got all the way to New York and got a deal with Rock Nation. And I was a part of that, like it was just like it was so surreal because I felt like they had to sacrifice Chris Mack, was the guy's name that died, rest in peace.
Right.
He, was one of the strongest forces in the group and he got taken away. But here they are still making music a year later and, still trying to be a force to be reckoned with. So, yeah, I was able to meet Jesse Cole through their manager. I can't come to what is his name. I can't even say it right now.
That's all right.
But yeah, he introduced me to Jesse. He said he's a great artist. Think you should interview him. I started looking at him, and he's in Germany, and he was on Germany Voice.
Oh, okay.
And he did the encore Jay-Z song, and he killed it. And he didn't win, but he just showed his level of talent. But he also had been part of Snap because I guess the original member had died. So anytime that they do shows and things like that, Jesse is the one that does the guy's part. He basically does all the covers for them now. So that was dope to be able to interview him and just be a part of something. He actually lived in America, and we talked about that a lot, and he told me some things about Germany, and it was just a great experience again, because that one of those, like, that song was so influential, and it's still influential, you know.
Yeah, I know. I remember it's almost 30 years old if my memory serves me correctly.
Right.
Pretty sure it came out in 90.
I also interviewed Nappy Roots, Big V. They're out of Kentucky. And that was so great because again, they came with a different sound when they came out in the 90s. So that was definitely great to, interview people like that. And again, I've been around so many great, talented, artists, and I just have been grateful and humble because again, I never expected to get this far with this business.
Yeah, okay. I know, me either. So I know what that's like. So tell me about your podcast. Well, how many do you have? More than one, or do you just have one?
I have two. I
Cool.
actually have Up North City Girls,
Okay.
and we have Real Talk with TML.
Okay. So do you have the same people in both of them, pretty much?
No.
All right. Well,
No.
tell me about the people you have in both of them, besides yourself, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Up North City Girls was me, Latoya,
Okay.
Ebony, Dawn, and April. We did bring in another co-host this last season, which didn't work out.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, it's all about the chemistry. Like I said, I've known these people my whole life. One of them is my sister.
Okay.
And the other two girls we grew up with in Hyde Park, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where we grew up, was Hyde Park. So we've known them since childhood. So our chemistry was always great because we just knew how to, have that conversation and have, conversation and just be real. And I think that's what I like about it, is that we can be real with each other. It's no, we're trying to prove who we are to each other. We already know who we are.
Right.
We've have over 40 years of friendship and relations, so I think that was the good part about how I chose to, include them in on this journey with me, because it wasn't really their journey. It was my journey. And they always said that, like, listen, we showing up because of you, this is your thing. And I'm like, I get it, but I wanted it to be our thing, but everybody doesn't have the same dream or the same journey. So I love the fact that we can, kick it for an hour and talk, and they're giving their real opinions about these artists, because again, they're not music professionals. They're not in the business. they like music, but that's not their passion, So I wanted to give that perspective as well, is that people who are coming on, they're not going to be nice just because you're on the show. No, they're going to tell you, oh, that I don't really like that. Or why are you talking about those things in your music? So yeah, they will ask those questions, So
Huh.
I try to keep it neutral because again, I'm all about, keeping the peace and giving people their flowers, for the most part, because I think it's important to give people that acknowledgement of, I see you working. I see you actually making an impact. And that helps to motivate people to keep going. So I definitely try to do that as much as possible on our show.
That must be quite a chore because it's one thing if you're just interviewing somebody one on one like we're doing now, but
Right.
if you have people that can be that can be a little more tenacious when they interview other artists and ask tough questions and give and critique them, then you still have to make you like you said keep the peace, which must be a challenge at some points. Is that true?
It is. It is, Harrison. It is.
But
I'm
you
telling you, last season it was definitely there were certain people that weren't talking. There were certain things that were going on behind the scenes that I kind of just had to keep it together for.
Okay, well, guess what? We're down to the final 5 minutes of the show. I hope you have fun talking to me.
I love talking to you.
Yeah, I love talking to you too. You made it easy for me because you have so much to say and you've done so much. So what I want you to do in the remaining time, if you would, is just look into that your image, bring your head down a little bit more because you're just cutting the top off, and just give shouts out to a few people that are going to see the show because a lot of them are, and then we'll wrap the show up with my music the way we began it. So go ahead.
Shout out to everybody that's been supporting my journey. Shout out to I don't want to mess up it or miss anybody, of course. But everybody up North City girls, all you girls, I love you guys. To all my models, Queen V, to Mimi, to Go, all the people behind the scenes that make this happen, that make this possible. Blazing Asian, who else? Amila. Who else? I'm trying to think.
That's all right. They all know. They all know. If you forget them, they're not gonna be mad. They'll understand. You got there's a lot of people to thank to help get you where you are. Just quick question: how did you come up with the name Up North Girls? I like that name, but how did you come up with that?
Well, Up North is always what I've been known by because Up North Records was the label that I was associated with.
I know. How did you come up with that for the record label?
Up North is because we're considered up north. So we wanted something to be called in regards to New England.
I got you.
So we called it Up North, whereas you have down south, you have, Midwest.
West.
So yeah. we're up north. We're the northeastern part of the region.
That's true. All right. Well, look, if you had a good time with me, again, put your head down a little bit so you're cutting the top of your head off. There you go. If you had a good time with me, which I think you did, you can send me as many people as you want to interview. We'll have your models in person if they want to do it.
Yes.
You can do it in person or by Zoom the way we do it now. This opens a lot of doors for me, obviously, for all of us being able to do Zoom like we are. The one blessing of the COVID situation was this, obviously. And that's it. Now, before we wrap the show up, is there anything coming up on the horizon that you might have overlooked that you want to mention after your 2-week vacation ends?
We just have our next season of Real Talk with TML coming. So stay tuned for that because we're definitely going to be having some great talent, some great events that'll be going on. We're also going to be taking artists from New England to Atlanta for AC3 weekend, which is in September.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking at that. I'm actually doing Big Six is what it's called, a magazine that we're going to feature all New England artists, all New England talent in the New England area. So it's going to give us a platform for us, through a visual, media,
right.
Paperback, which is great. So this will be something that'll be hosted by Up North City Girls and a few other sponsors that we're going to have come on board and help us bring these artists to light through this magazine. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. We will be doing a launch party for that. And I'm definitely going to invite you and have you out, and treat you like a star because
Sweet.
I believe you
if I can do it, I'll definitely
Harrison.
be there. All right. Well, look, You did a great job. I have one last request. Once we wrap the show up, will you stick around and let my tech guy take some pics for Facebook, and I'll tag you. And then if you
Of
want,
course.
okay. All right, you ready to wrap the show up the way we began it with the snap and the snoo and the smooths here? All right. Okay, folks, we're wrapping it up now. See you next time. Another great episode of Topic Time on tap. Have a good one.